This show is really going to be fun. It's going to be a pleasure. It's going to be, I wish every show were this way, but how often do we have people like the Mamas and Papas and Gary Puckett in town? We don't, but we do now. Here they are. May I introduce to you?
We do.
I need no introduction. McKenzie, everybody knows McKenzie Phillips. And sitting next to McKenzie is the great Gary Puckett.
Gary Puckett.
And Denny Doherty is sitting at the end there on the right-hand side of your screen.
Den's it is. Den's it is.
Yeah, an understatement is it's a pleasure having you here because it's more than that, and especially to you, McKenzie. You've gone from a motion picture and television actress now to a stage performer, and gentlemen,
downhill.
Straight downhill.
What's everybody's going to ask, and it's been asked before, McKenzie. What does it feel like being up on stage from?
Next to the great Gary Puckett.
Right. Well, let me tell you guys. No.
Windy up there.
When I first was thinking about doing this performing with the Mamas and Papas, I thought, sure, me go on stage in front of a bunch of people and sing.
Right.
My knees will buckle and I'll fall over. Well, I really was very pleasantly surprised. I got out on stage.
She was great. She was great.
And I wasn't scared at all. And it's second nature to me. And I love it.
Tell them about your 5th grade band. You told me all about that
All
stuff.
right.
I mean, that's your first love, no?
Okay.
What's that?
Music is my first love. When I was in the 5th grade, I put together a rock and roll band and took it to the Troubadour, which is a club in L.A.
I know the club.
On a hoot night. On a Monday night.
Is
An
that a
amateur
hoot
night
night?
where anyone can play.
Got it.
She had a phony ID.
Right. And all of us little teenagers got up on stage and sang our songs about, drinking beer and eating cold soup and stuff.
Right.
And there was a casting director in the audience from American Graffiti.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I got my first acting job.
Wow.
And here I am, 13 years later.
Phenomenal. The group had a particular sound that was loved for. I'll get to Denny in a moment.
Okay.
On that. Keep it down. The sound was one of my favorites. I was a disc jockey at the time during that era of the Mamas and Papas and Gary Puckett, and I've played their records I don't know how many times. But there is a particular sound. Now, when you change members of a group, a lot of times you lose that sound. What has happened with the sound of the Mamas and Papas?
Well, I feel that the sound is basically the same. Mm-hmm. The instrumentation, the attack is different because, of course, it's 1983 now and not
Right.
1965, and there's a lot of rock and roll happening. Mm-hmm. And vocally, we still have all the harmonies, and we have a good sound, and I think we really are very, very, very close to the original sound. And Denny even says, if not better than the original.
I say that all the time.
Well,
Now, I don't know whether he means it or not, but he says it.
I loved Mama Cass, and I loved Spanky of Spanky and Our Gang. So to see Spanky take Mama's place seemed very logical, as much as your place, incidentally. It wasn't like a way out. It almost fit.
Speaking of my place, I must say, anyone who happens to come to the Sands may see Michelle Phillips, original Mama Michelle, on stage with us. She was on stage with us last night, and she said she's going to come back and sing with us again. And,
was it a nostalgic type of feel?
boy, what an experience.
Oh, it was great. And she's maybe on this coming weekend, this Friday.
This weekend?
Friday, Saturday, yeah.
Great.
Well, you see now, I got to sit out in the audience while you guys were doing your show. And they are terrific. They really are. And it was really fun to see Michelle be a mama again.
Mama.
That's very nice of you to say that. And the thing that I just learned, that this is your first time together, Gary Puckett and the Mamas and Papas. Mm-hmm. And you're on first, Gary, right?
Yeah.
And you have...
I'm called the opening act.
The opening act, really.
We do an extended concert.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
How does the room feel? How does Vegas feel? How does the whole scene feel to you?
The whole thing feels great to me. It's a lot of fun. The only thing that I don't like about the Vegas scene, so to speak, is the sort of time clock that they put you up against all the time. But that's just the way that Vegas works, and you have to accept that at some point. But the stage is set up like a concert instead of like ta-da, you know.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
good.
It's like a rock and roll show, like a real good rock and roll show.
That's terrific. And do you do all of your tunes, Gary?
Yeah.
Great. I know a lot of artists who can't stand to do their hit tunes, and I'm one of those who love to hear the original hits.
You can't go on stage and not do them, I don't think.
Can you?
The audience would hate you.
I couldn't agree more, but I've known artists who found it to be very difficult and a pain to do their original hit material, and I never could understand why. I realize you do the same songs 15,000 times, but it's always a new audience, and they're only hearing it for the first time as far as hearing it live.
You kind of owe it to the songs, you know what I mean?
Pardon?
You kind of owe it to the songs themselves. They were the ones that brought you to that particular point, and to forsake that is a little bit weird, especially when that's what people come to hear you for sometimes.
That's right.
Well, I mean, they're not coming to hear me sing
want.
the Mamas and the Papas songs, So
Or your tune that you wrote last week or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's like songs that both groups have done. I'm sure people have their favorite girl is associated with those tunes, and they may have gotten married during that particular hit tune year, et cetera, et cetera. So it brings back a lot of fond memories, and you think of the time when you were at this particular place,
Oh, the nostalgia is incredible.
I think it's terrific that you do that.
I never realized how much a part of people's lives that I was, and I'm sure that all performers, feel that. But people come to me all the time and say those kind of things. I was sitting in the back seat of that kind of stuff.
Danny was a really young girl.
The back seat, I love it.
Yes, the back of the van. Well, even more than that, a lot of guys who were in the Vietnam conflict, war, whatever you want to call it, have come to me and said, I was in a foxhole, and I didn't know if I was going to wake up the next day, if I was going to be alive, and I had a tape machine, and I had one tape, and that tape was Gary Puckett and Union Gap, And it's a real heavy feeling because they would reach out to me and just, they'd grab my hand and say, you just don't know how much I appreciate that you got me through the night. It wasn't me, it was that entity that was created by my being a part of something,
That's very heavy.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
It really is.
example. That's nice.
Yeah.
Denny, it's, what can I say, an original of the Mamas and Papas, and it's fortunately for
Truly
somebody like
original.
yourself. And who's the other member that's the John?
My
your
father,
dad,
John Phillips.
which is sort of like the nucleus or the core to sort of keep that same basic establishment that was originally created. What do you feel, has it been altered much, or is it still, does it feel like the Mamas and Papas to you, the original?
Yeah. Yes. And as a matter of fact, at certain times in rehearsal, we first started rehearsing vocal arrangements to see what we sounded like. The old group would rehearse, and there'd be overtones. We call the overtones Harvey. An overtone is a voice you hear that's not there, because the harmonies are that close and things are ringing that tight. There's somebody else is singing. And it started to happen with Spanky and Mac, and we'd be in the middle of a song, we'd stop and say,
Harvey's here.
Harvey, do you hear Harvey? He's here. So at that point, it was like, hey, that's why ask for more? That's the sound that we liked, and we like this sound, and everybody else that comes to hear it likes it. See, the thing is, when we did live performances, the old group, I think we did 30 tops the entire time we were together. And we've done more since April than the old group ever did the entire time I was together. We've done 70 concerts since April, 71 nights.
Really?
Yeah.
70 C's.
And we've never failed to have a positive reaction from the audience. These two girls, I mean, Spanky's got notches from singing for a long time. And Mac is just an entertainer from the get-go.
I hear you. We're going to continue on with this in just a moment. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this word.
And so will you.
Again, our guests, McKenzie Phillips, Denny Doherty, Gary Puckett, and it's such a pleasure having them. I have to tell you this, which you don't realize, but there are people in the studio that are never here ordinarily, so you should realize that your presence, people come from everywhere. I never see these people,
Usually
Matt
sit
McCoy's
here.
on this camera, and he's in charge of local production, and John Dietrich is over here, but these people are all sort of an exective category, and zoom.
So you don't usually work cameras,
No,
right?
never. I haven't seen him on camera, I don't know, but anyway, so you should be, well,
We
I
are
shouldn't say
honored.
flattered,
I
but
think
thank you.
we are
Honored. That's
Pulling rank on the camera over there.
Yeah.
McKenzie, what is Las Vegas? What are your impressions of Vegas?
Well, I'll tell you. When the energy crisis was happening and they had to turn off all the lights on the Strip, do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I was doing a film down here called Rafferty and the Goldust Twins.
Really?
Yes, and we spent 3 or 4 weeks in Vegas working here, and we got the local government to agree to turn on the lights on the Strip for 2 hours a night so we could shoot during the energy crisis. And I only have fond memories of Vegas. One of my lines in the film was, Vegas is a town full of hookers, pimps, and part-time movie stars. But I don't really feel that way, and I don't think it's true. I think it's a lovely town, and I love the desert.
That's
And,
great. You live in L.A.?
No, I live in New York and have,
do you?
have lived in New York for the past 2 years.
Does your dad, John, live there too?
Yes.
I see. You never...
Our whole group is New York based. Denny lives in the New York area.
Oh, really?
Yep.
But Gary, you're in L.A. or Southern California. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know, I just assumed because One Day at a Time is shot in
One would
L.A.
assume that I live in LA. I lived in LA for 15 years and I've only not lived in LA for 2.
Oh, so it's been the... Are you talking about the last 2?
Last 2 years, of the only 2 years in the last 15 that I haven't lived in LA.
I gotcha.
Right.
Well, what are your impressions of New York?
I really like it. It's difficult for me to deal with the cold weather.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a homebody. I tend to stay in a lot.
You have to stay in New York.
You never get everything delivered.
Yeah.
Send up a roast beef sandwich.
You know, when I think of New York,
Sick.
this is not a downbeat type.
He's a block away. Have it delivered.
You know, I think of John Lennon and being in New York, and I know that average New Yorker would say, well, you know, those things could happen anywhere in the world, and they of course could. But I think it's sort of a black mark on
Well,
New York, I think, for something like that to have happened there. But is it
Well,
true?
so many things do happen in New York.
It would have been a black mark wherever it would have happened.
Really?
And my friend has a T-shirt that has a big heart on it, and it says, John Lennon lives here.
Is that right?
Isn't that lovely?
Wow, that's neat. I like that. Denny, how do you feel about Vegas? Would you want to
I've
live
only
here?
been here for 2 days.
He wants to go back to New Jersey.
Would you bring up
Spanky
your kids
lived
here? What?
Spanky lived here for 2 years.
Yeah.
She did?
Yeah, she was working Spanky and our gang.
Spanky and our
in the
gang
lounges.
came here. They lived here the group broke up and she stayed here for, I think, a year she lived here.
You know what?
After
You know
that-
what year it was? You know how long ago that was?
78, 79?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I
Very
had no
recent.
idea about that.
If you'd known, you would have had her on your show.
Oh, listen, I would have.
She's under the weather, she'd be here. I've been through Vegas driving to California, and it was, as a matter of fact, before the group got together, when John and Michelle and myself and Throckmorton, your cousin,
Billy, cousin Billy, oh my God.
her cousin Billy, we drove from New York to L.A. in a U-Drive limousine, Cadillac limo, that we were going to deliver to a dealership. We
But
stopped
we'll
in
not
Vegas.
talk about that,
Yeah.
okay?
We stopped in Vegas on the way. It was the only stop we made. And we came into the casinos, but we
Fear and
had
loathing.
our stage clothes with us. So we were going to change clothes in the limousine to come into the casino, see if we could
Yeah.
make some money to make the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
And so while we're all juggling and taking our clothes off in the limousine, Las
kinky to me.
Vegas finest showed up and shined their lights and said, aha! Right away. So we were trying to explain that, well, we got out of that. We said, we're going to the casino. And we did. Didn't win anything, but we carried on. That was the only time I've been in Vegas. That was at night.
Yeah.
As I say, I've been here for 2 days. But so far, so good. I
Good.
like the hotel. The Sands is very
Yes.
nice.
I like the
room,
slot
the Copa room is very
Slot
nice.
machines.
Gary Puckett and his band are lovely.
Aren't we
McKenzie,
Gary, are you a gambler?
No, not really.
I haven't seen him play one thing.
No, not this time.
Spanky's the big winner anyway. Spanky's
Yeah.
won
Really?
$325 so far.
Yeah.
on the
How
I
much?
s-
3 and a quarter.
325.
She's won or played that?
She's
she's
won.
won.
She's won that.
I sat at a blackjack table until 4 a.m. Honestly.
What happened? Did you win, lose, draw?
I am just about even and owed $20 by Dinky, our sound man.
I walked by and
Don't
they were all
forget,
playing
Dinky.
the computer slots. And as I stood there, Spanky won a few quarters. She said, "Don't move. Stand right there." She's, right into the luck of it all.
Right.
What happens from here, Gary?
From here, we're going to go to the Taco Bell. Back to the hotel so she can feed her band. And after that, it's showtime.
I mean,
What do you
after
mean?
the engagement, your 2-week engagement.
Well, we've got a lot of things coming up. We'll be in Bermuda for a couple of weeks at one of the big shining hotels down there. We're going to do a television program that the Mamas and the Papas just did up in Salt Lake City. Is that
Oh, you're going
correct?
to do that?
We're doing the
oh,
same
you're
one.
going to love it.
Yeah,
You're going to have
it's
a good
going to be a lot of
time.
fun. It's being done for on cable, and what's the other one? Showtime or something
Showtime,
like that.
HBO, one of those things.
So those are things that we're about to do, and
Will you be, like with the Mamas and Papas, joining other famous groups as you tour and work on?
well, I hope we will be able to work together. We all seem to get along really well. You never know. It's always the test of time, I guess.
Always latch group to group. And
Yeah, we're having a real good time at this point, and everybody has kind of looked at it and said, gee, maybe we could get this together and tour together. Because it seems to be now that so many 60s sort of groups are kind of doing it again. We're both kind of, we are compatible, but we're both sort of updating things too,
Rock
and
and
having a
roll,
good
yeah.
time, you know. And it's a lot better package to sell the Mamas and the Papas and Gary Puckett than either alone, you know.
true.
So it's a lot of fun to do too.
Well, personally, having spent all of my years as a disc jockey and my favorite tunes come out of the 60s and 70s. I can totally relate to it, and one of my big favorites presently is Crosby, Stills, Nash.
Oh, the Southern Cross.
Yeah,
They're coming back
Record
and what
is
they've
great.
done, and the association, and now, you know, Mamas and Papas, and I see Gary Puckett is back doing his thing. It's a great thing. You know, well, I'm sure you people know this, I'm not telling you anything new, you have a unique sound that nobody else in the world has ever been able to duplicate or capture, and that sound is not only was loved by my generation, but will be loved and can be by generations to come. So it's only logical that what you do and made you famous at one time will happen again.
You must come down.
Yeah, you
I
should
hope
come and
everybody
see the
else does
show.
too, because I want you to
sure.
I want standing room only.
Yeah,
for you
we want
guys.
lots of people there because it's a lot of fun.
Well,
Show times are 8 and midnight.
8 and midnight, classic show
right.
times of Vegas, only we don't always have groups like yours in town. I hope everybody will be there. We're going to come right back in just a moment. First we have this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Wanted to ask Denny Doherty how the original Mamas and Papas started. How was it all put together?
Oh, that's a book.
As a matter of fact,
Maybe
it's
there is
about
a
to be a
book.
film.
As a matter of fact, it is. Yes, it's going to be a film.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's a guy up here now talking to us, trying to fathom it all out. He's been here for 2 days. And I haven't told him.
He's
You want to
here?
know now?
Is that who that is?
Roger, yeah.
Oh, I knew I knew him from somewhere.
John and Michelle and I had been in the Journeymen, a folk group. We all worked out of Greenwich Village back in the early 60s in different folk groups.
Yeah.
John, myself, Cass, Zoll, everybody that you know of that's mentioned in Creaky Alley, for instance, in that song. But after folk music died out, and after we'd gone to the Virgin Islands, we just came back to New York and said, let's get out of here. And Michelle was from California, said, let's go to California. We just said, let's go to California. Cass was already out there. So we drove to California. This was 64, 65. Met Cass. Through a series of events, through friends, Barry McGuire heard us singing after Cass had joined us, which is another story altogether.
A funny one, too.
She got hit in the head with a piece of pipe in the Virgin Islands.
Cass?
True. This is true. It sounds weird, but true. She couldn't sing because Michelle is a soprano. Cass is a contralto. And
Yes, or something.
she can really belt, but she couldn't hit the high notes. She goes to falsetto, and her voice got weak. She was walking into Duffy's in Creaky Alley, and they were putting a new ice machine in, and a length of copper pipe came down. He hit her on the head, knocked her unconscious.
Ouch.
She woke up, had a tone and a half on the top of a register.
Higher?
Higher. No one questioned it. No one said, wow. And she started singing, and that came about when we got to California and started seriously singing. It worked. Barry McGuire said, I have my producer who wants to hear you. We went down and sang for Lou Adler. He said, what do you want? You got.
We won.
And from then on, we just went in and recorded songs that we rehearsed. California Dreamin', Monday, Monday.
Who wrote those songs?
John. And he'd written them all back in New York
Dad.
years before.
Incredible.
He had written songs in New York before?
Yeah. Like California Dreamin' was written in 1960, 61. We got there in 65 and recorded it. It was a little song that we used to rehearse, to sing, to see
Warm
what it
up,
sounded.
too.
Yeah.
Let's do the sound check now. Okay, let's do California Dream.
Well, those stories are the most fascinating to me of all, because it's how something was put together, was created, that becomes.
Well, the story
unlike
is so
anything
hard to
else.
tell, and would take a while, that they want to make a movie out of the whole thing, and
Yeah.
we're now talking to people about it.
That's
Do you guys
right.
get to play yourselves?
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, no.
I don't
I'm not
know.
5 years old anymore.
That's right.
Really?
I can't do that. Bijou can do it, my
Bijou could.
sister.
Gary, how did it happen with you?
Well, since being a kid, my parents said, you will have musical understanding and training. And so I started out having piano lessons when I was 6 years old and learned all this classical stuff. And along came rock and roll, you know, Jerry Lee Lewis, ding, 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 ding,
Right.
ding, ding stuff, you know. And I kind of got turned on by all of that stuff. And I was supposed to be something important in life, though, like a doctor, you know, not necessarily a singer or whatever. And I went to college really wondering what I was going to do. I was going to be a child psychiatrist or something. I wasn't really sure, criminal psychologist, I don't know. And, you know, through 2 years of college, I finally just said, look, this is not for me. I'm going to go for the music thing. So I had found a guitar in my grandmother's attic when I was 15 years old. And, of course, the first thing that happened was honky-tonk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But that was enough for me to have some sort of emotional feeling, you know, about music. And, of course, my parents being totally musical, they just said, you know, whatever you want to do, do it. And We're behind you. So I quit the school scene and all that and stopped thinking seriously about being something important and started really pursuing what I wanted to do, which was music. And went through several years of local groups and all that, and at one point just said, I'm tired of all these personalities that are so hard to work with. When you work with music people, it's real ego structure stuff, you know. And so I finally put a group together, which ultimately became the Union Gap, and went searching through Los Angeles for somebody who would record it, and found Jerry Fuller, who said, yeah, this is a pretty good voice. Where can I see it and hear it and all that? He came down to see me in San Diego, and
what year was that, Gary?
And that was '67. He came down to a place called the Quad Room, which is in San Diego, and he came in the night before, actually. He said, I'll be down on Saturday. He came in on Friday, and I was just cruising through the evening, taking it easy on my voice, because I did all the singing in, you know, a 5-hour night. And he came up to the stage 3 hours into the night and said, sounds terrific, let's make a record, you know. And I said, you're supposed to be here tomorrow.
Gotcha.
So,
and that was it.
yeah, he went to bat for us at Columbia Records and brought the papers down, and we signed all that stuff and got it out of the way. And he brought in Glenn Campbell and Jimmy Gordon, who was with Derek and the Dominoes and everybody else in the world, you know, and all the great musicians. And we went into this studio that was about 8 times the size of this place, and it was great.
That's fabulous.
I love it.
McKenzie, I've only got a couple of minutes. Where have you found that you fit or enjoy the best of all the showbiz that you've done and are doing?
What do I like better,
What
you
feels
mean?
the best, yeah?
I really couldn't say. I think I really striked.
She likes playing.
My father would kill me. Thank God he's not here. I found a really good balance for myself between acting and singing. I said I would never sacrifice my acting career for my singing career, or my singing career for my acting career. And I managed. And I'm very happy with what's happening in my career.
How
And
about your life? Is it good too?
yeah,
Fantastic.
pretty good.
Well, I can't tell you all how much I've enjoyed this. It's been a very special show for me, and I wish every day could be this way 5 days a week, but you don't have people of your stature always. But anyway, thank you very much. Good luck at the Sands. I hope everybody comes by to see you.
I certainly do too.
Please keep in touch with me. If you're ever in town again, I would feel honored if you would come back once again.
All right,
Thank you,
Ken, you got
Dennis.
it.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. And thank you for your time. Stay tuned for Richard Simmons. He's coming up next here on Page 5, and he'll take care of you in other ways. But anyway, have a good day. Stay tuned for Richard Simmons. Hope to see you tomorrow morning on Page 5 at 8 o'clock. Bye for now.